Cinema in minutes. In today's video, we will be going through a war drama film entitled The Great War of Archimedes. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. The movie begins on the 7th of April, 1945 when a Japanese warship sinks as they lose the battle where more than 3,000 crew members died. 12 years ago, in the year 1933, Japan was in a rough situation as a result of the Great Depression. The establishment of puppet Manchukuo in 1932 intensifies the confrontation with the UK and US powers. After Japan withdrew from the League of Nations the same year, the country became isolated from the world. The scene changes at aircraft carrier Akagi where the commander-in-chief of the combined fleet, Rear Admiral Yamato Isoroku, along with other Navy officials, is informed that all planes had a successful flight. Cheering, they are confident that the Imperial Japanese Navy has conquered the sea and the sky. One official, then, added that with the construction of a new large warship, their forces will be more elite. However, Rear Admiral Yamato disagrees and emphasizes that they should focus on building more aircraft carriers because it is the key to future wars. Later, the shipwright, Major General Fujioka shows Rear Admiral Yamato the model of an aircraft carrier he designed. The model impresses Rear Admiral Yamato, but he's worried that they need to cut some spending budget for the construction. Fujioka also raises the concern that the selection committee is hard to persuade, especially Shimada, to favor building an aircraft carrier over a warship. Then, at the Ministry of Navy, Rear Admiral Yamato and Fujioka convince Marshal Admiral Nagano Asami to help them with Shimada. Afterward, in the new ship review conference where they're planning to replace the old warship, Kongu, Rear Admiral Yamato explains to the committee that aircraft carriers are the future force of war, but as expected, Shimada disagrees. Marshal Admiral Nagano tries to convince the minister that Rear Admiral Yamato is right, but Shimada insists that a large warship is what the combined fleet needed. Lieutenant General Hirayama, then, interrupts them and proposes to the committee the model of the warship he designed. Upon seeing the model, Shimada and the minister are greatly impressed. Lieutenant General Hirayama declares that he wants to show the world the majesty and might of the Imperial Japanese Navy. After the conference, Marshal Admiral Nagano, Rear Admiral Yamato, and Fujioka drink and talk about their plan to overturn the situation. Without anything in mind at the moment, Marshal Admiral Nagano tells them to enjoy first and asks the place's attendant for a bottle of wine and women, but all the women are at the party in the other room. Then, we see a man named Kai Tadashi having fun with all the women. Rear Admiral Yamato and Fujioka enters the room to ask for some women, but Kai declined. He, instead, proceeds to write formulas and computations in his notebook. It's shown that Kai is a genius at mathematics. Rear Admiral Yamato then talks to Kai and it's revealed that Kai used to study at the Department of Mathematics at Imperial University, but he was dropped out because of an issue with his previous work as a tutor of the daughter of the Ozaki family. Going back to their private room, Rear Admiral Yamato gets interested in Kai. He, then, came up with a plan to recalculate the cost of Lieutenant General Hirayama's design and expose him to the board to overturn the situation favorable to their side. Unfortunately, Fujioka points out that no one can do it within 2 weeks before the decision is finalized. Later, we see Rear Admiral Yamato goes to Kai's place and asks his help. Kai declines, reasoning that he'll go to the US to study mathematics at Princeton University. With no other choice, Rear Admiral Yamato reveals that if the warship was built, it will be taken by other countries as confrontational and will trigger a war. Afterward, we see Kai at the port, ready to leave, when we get a flashback of Kai being introduced by the father of the Ozaki family to Shimada. Mr. Ozaki and Shimada talk about building a massive warship. Kai interrupts them and emphasizes that naval warfare is not efficient. Shimada gets angry and Mr. Ozaki attacks Kai and tells him not to get near his daughter again. While boarding the ship, Kai sees the place engulfed in fire and the people burning. Seeing Kyoko, he quickly runs to her. Kyoko apologizes to him and wants Kai and his father to reconcile, but Kai knows it won't happen. He's about to go back to the ship when he sees the war behind Kyoko again. Then, Kai meets with Rear Admiral Yamato and accepts his offer. The Rear Admiral made him a major and assigns Lieutenant Tanaka as his valet. Rear Admiral Yamato then introduces Kai to Marshal Admiral Nagano. They set up a special accounting monitoring unit led by Kai. Afterward, Kai and Lieutenant Tanaka come across Lieutenant General Hirayama. At the office, Kai is surprised that the only document that's given to him is a thin sheet of papers that has Fujioka's memory of Lieutenant General Hirayama's design. It turns out that they cannot have the original document or blueprint of Lieutenant General Hirayama's design because it belongs to the military aircraft. Kai thinks that there is shady truth behind the low cost of the warship's design. Meanwhile, Lieutenant General Tanaka gets a call from MG Shimada telling him that Marshal Admiral Nagano and Rear Admiral Yamamoto plan to recalculate the cost of his design with the help of the newly enlisted Major Kai. MG Shimada is kind of nervous, but Lieutenant General Hirayama assures him that they won't be able to do it in 2 weeks. The scene changes to Kai and Lieutenant Tanaka going to an actual warship. Without them knowing, Lieutenant Takato, a soldier that serves MG Shimada, and Lieutenant General Hirayama are following them. With the help of Marshal Admiral Nagano, Kai, and Lieutenant Tanaka board the ship, Nagato. Lieutenant Tanaka, then, distracts the captain, and Kai manages to find the ship's blueprint and copy it. The next day, Lieutenant Tanaka finds Kai manually measuring the ship. Before leaving the ship, Lieutenant Tanaka gives Kai a notebook with his measuring of the ship using his footsteps. At the office, Kai plans to replicate Lieutenant General Hirayama's design using Nagato's design as a reference. With no knowledge about shipbuilding, Kai reads different books about it overnight. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Takato informs MG Shimada and Lieutenant General Hirayama of Kai's activity. MG Shimada laughs at the news of Kai manually measuring the ship, but Lieutenant General Hirayama doesn't want to take Kai easily. Then, it is revealed that the two Navy officials are already in talk with the minister. Afterward, Lieutenant Takato goes to the house of the Ozakis and gives Kyoko the gift from MG Shimada. Kyoko goes upstairs right after when Lieutenant Takato tells her that Kai is already in the Navy. Then, he pays a woman to get information about Kai and Kyoko's relationship. The next day, Lieutenant Tanaka discovers a bunch of anonymous letters posted outside their office about Kai being called a sexual predator for sleeping with his student, Kyoko Ozaki. Afterward, we see Kai being scolded by Marshal Admiral Nagano about the issue. Kai, then, reveals that he's indeed in love with Kyoko, but nothing happened to them and all the allegations are all made up by her father for the university to drop him out. With 9 days before the final conference, Kai finished replicating Lieutenant General Hirayama's design and his suspicion grows stronger that something is wrong with why the cost of his warship is low. All they need is the price list of all the equipment and materials for shipbuilding and labor cost. With no other options, Kai and Lieutenant Tanaka go to different private companies to ask for the information they need, but all their attempts failed. The next day, Kai meets with Kyoko and asks for her help. Unfortunately, Kyoko knows nothing about their company. But, she suggests to Kai to go to Osato Kiyoshi, a former employee of Ozaki Shipbuilding Company, that has his own shipbuilding company in Osaka. Carrying the letter she made, Kai and Lieutenant Tanaka travels to Osaka to try their luck. Unfortunately, even after reading Kyoko's letter, Mr. Osato didn't agree to provide the information they need. Waiting for another day, Mr. Osato is still not cooperating and the two are about to go back to Tokyo when Kyoko suddenly arrives. With the help of Kyoko, Mr. Osato agrees to talk to cooperate. Kai, then, shows him the blueprint he made and this impresses Mr. Osato. Finally agreeing to help, Mr. Osato shows them the books of records of purchases and labor costs. With no time to waste, Kai starts calculating. Kai, later, points out that exposing Lieutenant General Hirayama will also drag down the Ozaki Shipbuilding Company because they're the company that will build the warship. Mr. Osato, then, reveals to them the corrupted deal between the Navy and the Ozaki Shipbuilding Company. Kyoko is frustrated to know the truth. Suddenly, a telegram was sent to them notifying them that the date of the final conference was changed and it will happen tomorrow. Driven to the corner, Kai is able to think of a solution that will make their computations faster. They all help out and even at the train, they are still computing. When they arrive at Tokyo the next morning, Kai thanked Kyoko for her help and they immediately go to the conference. During the final conference, the favor of the minister is clearly at the side of MG Shimada and Lieutenant General Hirayama. But Marshal Admiral Nagano and Rear Admiral Yamamoto did their best to buy some time for Kai and Lieutenant Tanaka to finish computing. Unfortunately, it's not enough. The minister is about to finalize the decision when Kai stands up and reveals to the committee that he can prove that Lieutenant General Hirayama's warship costs more than what he initially stated in his proposal. Using his formula, he explains that knowing the total amount of iron used can determine the overall cost of making the ship. MG Shimada and Lieutenant Takato challenge him to prove it and he does by computing the total cost of an existing warship based on his formula. Buying enough time, Lieutenant Tanaka finished computing the total amount of iron to be used in Lieutenant General Hirayama's design. Kai shows to the committee the actual cost of Lieutenant General Hirayama's design is 175.64 million, twice more than the 89 million that Lieutenant General Hirayama submitted in his proposal. Marshal Admiral Nagano asks Lieutenant General Hirayama why he did it but he doesn't answer. Kai, Then, reveals to the committee that Lieutenant General Hirayama has a secret deal with Osaka Shipbuilding Company to build cheap warships for them and order cruisers at a high price in return. Lieutenant Takato tries to ruin Kai's credibility by bringing up his relationship with Kyoko, and this sparks arguments inside the conference about mistresses. Pissed, Kai slams the table and tells everyone to focus on the matter. He, then, accused Lieutenant General Hirayama of trampling justice by purposely lowering the cost of the warships that are about to be made. Lieutenant General Hirayama then asks him what is wrong with that. The Lieutenant General reveals to everyone that he only did that to fool the enemies. Publicizing the actual budget of the warship will only make the enemies aware of their plan and prepare to counter them. But if they purposely let them know that a cheap warship is being made, they won't bother about it. This impresses the minister, and Lieutenant General Hirayama's design was approved. Kai, then, notices something upon looking at the blueprint of the warship. Showing the committee the replica he made, he points out that Lieutenant General Hirayama's design is weak and vulnerable against high waves and strong storms. Upon realizing his mistakes, Lieutenant General Hirayama requests to withdraw his design and leaves. Kai succeeds, but something feels off for him. In the end, MG Fujioka's design was approved. Then, it is revealed that Rear Admiral Yamamoto wants to build an aircraft carrier to prepare for an inevitable war. Getting intel about the enemy's new stronghold in the Pacific, they plan to attack Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. 6 months later, Kai meets with Lieutenant General Hirayama and he shows him a bigger model of the warship he designed. Lieutenant General Hirayama asks Kai for the formula he made for perfecting his design, to which Kai declines. Lieutenant General Hirayama then makes Kai realize that he perfected the warship himself, and as a shipwright, he wants to come into life. To Kai's surprise, Lieutenant General Hirayama reveals to him that with or without the warship, war will happen. And they both know that regardless of how many huge warships they build, they will always lose to the US. But regardless, Japanese people will still fight to the death. It is revealed that Lieutenant General Hirayama designed the warship to be a big and mighty warship to make the Japanese people believe that they can take on anything. But in the end, it is meant to sink, to make people realize that Japan can lose. That is why Lieutenant General Hirayama named the ship Yamato, another name of Japan. Convinced with the Lieutenant General's ideals, Kai agrees to give the formula to him. 9 years later, 2 months after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, the Navy inaugurates Yamato. The movie ends with Kai crying as he watches Yamato set sail to its mission. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more videos like this and to help the channel grow.